Hello there, Guardians. So the last few weeks has produced some interesting amounts of information, and I just wanted to go through with you some of the highlights of the last 3 weeks, the streams that Bungie have revealed to us what is going to happen next week with Age of Triumph and the launch of the last live event in Destiny 1 before we start seeing what's going to happen with Destiny 2. Now, I'm not going to go into the Destiny 2 posters that we've been seeing, but I'll do that in another video. This one is just for Age of Triumph and to have a look at what's going on there. Essentially, it's just the culmination of everything we've done so far in Destiny 1. We've got a massive record book, a 13-page record book. Each page is dedicated to something, one particular item in the game. So we've got a particular raid aspect, we've got a particular story mission aspect, Trials of Osiris and other. So there's all kinds of things that we've got access to in this record book, and then we have to complete certain features of it, and once we do that, we unlock a reward at the bottom of the book. So there's an 8th node. There are 7 nodes to complete. We don't have to complete all 7, which is a great thing for people who aren't physically possible to complete that. So some people will not actually be able to 100% this book, because to do that, you have to have been virtually a day 1 player, or at least started before the Dark Below was released. And personally, I actually started just after the Dark Below was released. So while I'm a year 1 player, I wasn't playing in that short period of time between the release of Destiny and the Dark Below being released. And so I won't actually get one of the particular nodes, the very first node in the book, in fact, that is a commencement node if you were one of those original players. But on the upside, you don't need to, like I said, complete the entire book to get all the rewards. So if you can complete 6 out of the 7 rewards or nodes on each page, then the 8th node will unlock, and that gives you the reward for that page. So each page has a shader or an emblem or something specific that indicates to the rest of the Destiny community that you have completed that aspect of the book. So there are rewards for things like being a collector and getting shaders and emblems and ships and sparrows and all those kinds of things. There are other ways also to get involved in this game. So one of the new things that they've introduced is this weekly rituals. Now, we already know we've got weekly rituals like a weekly Crucible event and a weekly heroic strike playlist, that sort of stuff, a weekly challenge on the raid, but they're changing that so that now we're going to see a weekly Crucible event or playlist, a weekly story playlist, and then we've got weekly heroic playlist or strike playlist, and then the Nightfall, an arena event and a challenge of the elders playlist. So we've got that, and then on top of that we'll also have a weekly featured raid, and in that featured raid all the challenge modes will be available in that raid for that week. So the first week coming back is going to be Crota, then it will be Vault of Glass, then the following week will be King's Fall, and the final week will be Wrath of the Machine. So 4 weeks, 4 raids obviously, and then each one has a series of challenge modes. Now, Vault of Glass and Crota's End, they never had challenge modes. And what we know now is that Crota is going to have a Death Singer challenge, and it's also going to have a Crota challenge. And from that, we'll be able to get Age of Triumph ornaments, so funky ornaments for new raid armor, and we'll also be able to get elemental exotic primaries, adept versions of the primary weapons. Now, I'm kind of merging all the information that we've got over the last couple of weeks into one here, but bottom line, first of all, elemental primaries are coming back. Yay. Second of all, we've got those elemental primaries being released as exotic adept versions, and they're only available if you complete the challenges on the weekly featured raid. Now, the weekly featured raid, like I said, the first one will be Crota's End. You'll have to complete the Death Singer challenge and the Crota challenge. That gives you 2 chances to get a drop. It's an RNG drop. It's not a guaranteed drop from what they've said. So you will get an opportunity to get one of those exotic primaries from Crota's End initially, and then we'll move to Vault of Glass, and then King's Fall and Wrath of the Machine, as we said earlier. Now, Age of Triumph is going to kick off with a quest from the speaker. It's about 12 steps. We didn't actually see exactly, but the quote was, I think it's about 12 steps, so we think it's about 12 steps. It starts off from the speaker, and it will work you through all the different aspects of the game. So we'll run through all the PvP aspects and all the PvE aspects. It starts with the weekly story missions and then moves on from there. So there's that aspect of it, which gives you a great opportunity to complete the book as you go through this quest. The additional changes to the way the rituals are going to work, particularly with the Nightfall, means we've now got this Daybreak modifier, which didn't exist before. Essentially, the Daybreak modifier for the Nightfall is going to be a conglomeration or a combination of the Epic modifier that we've always had with the Nightfall and Mayhem modifiers that we get in Crucible. So your super and your melee and grenade abilities are going to recharge very quickly. If you then couple that with things like Scory or max intellect, discipline, or strength, you will get those abilities back really, really quickly. Then couple that again with things like orbs and that sort of stuff being generated, you're going to have your super pretty well all the time if you work really well as a team in a fire team. The other thing to consider here is that the Radiant Light buff, if you're a Year 1 player, you'll remember when you completed the Nightfall, you used to be able to run around the tower with that blue flaming head. Now, the Nightfall was a huge thing back then, because if you died, if you wiped, that was it. You had to start all over again. You didn't just start at the last checkpoint. You went all the way back to orbit, had to go back in, start all over. So if you finished the Nightfall, you know, that was a good achievement. I actually loved that about the Nightfall. It made it a real end game activity. But at the end of that, you were able to run around with this blue flaming head, and you had an XP buff for the rest of the week. So the first activity you would always complete at reset was always the Nightfall, so that you got that XP buff, could run around with your Radiant Light blue flaming head. Well, that's back. So the great thing about this is, I guess, celebrating one of those great aspects of Year 1 and getting the Nightfall Radiant Light buff coming back. I'm looking forward to that. I really miss being able to run around with a blue flaming head. That was really cool. Another quick change that they've made relating to Crucible is that they're reducing the number of playlists that are going to be available each week. So we'll only have 5 playlists available to us, plus classic or legacy style playlists and the private matches, obviously. But there'll be 5 standard playlists available, which will rotate each week. I believe the first week is going to kick off with Control and Supremacy, Salvage and Rumble, but then with Elimination being available at all times unless Trials of Osiris is on, and then it will be replaced with that. And then the following week, I think it is changing to Clash, then Rift, Skirmish and Rumble Supremacy. The idea behind doing that is to reduce the number of playlists to maximize the number of, or the pool of players. This is an attempt that Bungie are making to try and improve matchmaking across the board for everyone that is playing. Try and eliminate that red bar situation. Now, they've been talking that, you know, their main thing has always been connection-based matchmaking, and a lot of people argue, well, we think it's skill-based matchmaking because they keep hitting red bars and that sort of thing. Now, the problem that you've got with that is that if the pool isn't very big, if you actually want to get a game, you're going to end up matching with players that you don't have a very good connection with regardless. So we're going to start seeing a reduced playlist being offered, a reduced number of playlists being offered, game modes, and then they'll rotate on a weekly basis. For Shacks, still in Crucible, the Mountaintop quest has been retired, or will be retired, which means you won't be able to get the Hothead as a reward anymore. It's only a Year 1, so it's not a huge deal, but if you wanted it and you're a collector, then you'll have to knock that out pretty quickly because it's going. But the flip side of that is that means that single bounty that Shaxx used to offer, or currently offers, won't be available to you because it's only available if you completed the mountaintop quest. Instead of that, they're now replacing that with 2 bounties, which are basically the same as what he's currently offering, but he's just going to offer 2 of them instead. So he might offer the Supremacy and the Control bounty this week, and then next week he might offer Clash and something else. That's one of the changes that's coming, and they will still continue to offer endgame rewards. On top of that, the Crucible Quartermaster is going to be offering 5 new bounties each week for the different weapon archetypes, and part of this will allow you to earn the weapons from year 2 and year 3 for Crucible, Iron Banner and Trials from that particular method. And there is a hand cannon bounty that will be able to reward an IS Luna, so that is on there as well. Just in case you were a hand cannon fan and you want that IS Luna, well then there is a bounty that can reward that for you. Trials of Osiris bounties are going to be updated on a daily basis. Instead of currently you can complete the gold tier bounty on a daily basis, well, all of them will be available daily as of Age of Triumph, which is probably good news for all you Trials players out there. With the release of Age of Triumph, we've now got a new treasure available to us called the Treasure of the Ages, and these are going to be rewarded once per week from 3 different playlists. So you can get up to 3 per week if you complete each of the 3 playlists once a week, and that will give you the ability to collect as much of this new armor as possible. The Treasure of the Ages essentially has everything in it that has ever been in any treasures ever. But it also gives you the ability to get the new Moments of Triumph armor that is being released with Age of Triumph as well. We'll have a look at that set here. This is the new Moments of Triumph armor that's being released through this Treasure of the Ages. But if there was something that you really wanted to get and you didn't get it because you couldn't get one of these other treasures, everything that has ever been available through Eververse and through any treasure package will now be available in the Treasure of the Ages. You can get up to 3 per week. You can get 1 from 3 different activities. On that, check out this Warlock bond that's now available. That's pretty cool. And with the ability to get so many legendary marks each week now, I think we can get up to 170 or something like that, plus dismantling all the weapons and things like that you get. I mean, I'm always at max legendary marks, max glimmer, because I'm just getting stuff all the time. With that, one of the changes that they're going to make, which I say about time, is that the vendors that they used to have a set inventory for the entire period of time. So guys like your Vanguard class vendors, Shaxx, Crucible Quartermaster, the factions, all those guys, well, their gear, their inventory is going to have rotating perks each week. So we should have, I'm hoping to see rotating stats and rotating perks. Rotating stats on armor and rotating perks. And I will be doing a video on that. I currently do a video on the vendors that have a weekly refresh at the moment, and that's going to continue. The Speaker, Varric, Shiro, all those guys are going to continue with their vendor refresh each week. But everyone else is going to have one as well. So the only guy that I think is not listed in this group here is the Gunsmiths. Have a look at those, keep an eye out for that, but I'm really looking forward to seeing the weekly changes to the vendor items that are being offered on a weekly basis. Now, the Necrochasm, just quickly, is an item that you get from Crota's End with the Crux of Crota. Now, it looks like instead of having to get a particular item like the Crux, there's actually going to be a quest available for you to get the Necrochasm, the new Necrochasm, which, will take you up to 400 light by the look of it. Every primary from every single raid has an exotic Adept version. I told you about that before, and it's going to have elemental damage, but the note on the side here is that the King's Fall weapons and armor from the normal difficulty won't be available through the new Max Light version. So anything that you want to get, just say a Doom of Chelchis or Defiance of Yasmin or something like that, without the Harrowed bit in front, if you're just looking for the regular one, well, you can't get that from the Max Light raid. you'll have to go through the normal raid to get that, or, you know, get random drops from the current hard difficulty that we have available to us before Age of Triumph comes out. On top of the primaries being available as an exotic Adept version which will have elemental damage, you can also get from the standard part of the standard drops, without having to complete challenge modes, you can still get legendary versions of all of those raid items. The only thing is, those primaries will not have elemental damage, so you can get them every week, anytime, but the elemental ones will only be available from completing the challenges in the raids for the weekly featured raid. And again, the first one is going to be Crota. Finally, they're going to address some of these issues that have been plaguing Destiny players like myself for some time. I can't play with my son in the same fire team because we're on the same network. So it looks like they're saying that the local network fire team issues that most people who are on a local network have been experiencing, where they can't join the same fire team, they're addressing that in the update coming. If you've been having issues with Siva key fragments not being picked up or Siva cache keys going to the postmaster, they're addressing that by the look of it. And then skeleton keys, I know that you're supposed to get a skeleton key guaranteed drop from the first nightfall every week. I don't. I'm one of these people that don't get one. Apparently that's being addressed as well. That is all excellent, because that means the game will actually work the way that it's supposed to. And finally, a note for everyone: please, please, please do not play any of the playlist items before the update is released. Now, the update is not being released at reset. It's being released at the regular event time. So Iron Banner trials, or that time, okay? So 10 a.m. Pacific time. So whatever that time that equates to for you, 3:30 a.m. for me on the following morning, Wednesday morning. 4 a.m. if you're in the eastern states in Australia, or 3 a.m. if you're in Queensland. You know, so bear in mind that there will be a period of time between reset and when the game is released. There's an 8-hour period of time when the update is released. Don't do anything, okay? Basically, don't do any of the activities, because you won't get rewards. In fact, they're locking you out from the heroics and the nightfall, but they can't lock you out from the Crucible weekly playlist. Don't play the weekly Crucible playlist in that period, because you won't be eligible for the reward, and you won't get the treasure that is available to you for completing that once the update is released. I hope you got something out of this video, Guardians. I know it was long, and I apologize for that, but there's so much information that is out there that we needed to get into this. If you did get something out of it, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. You can catch me on Instagram and Twitter, BoylerRoom81. Thanks for watching, Guardians. I'll see you next time.